What's up, everybody? Big comeback for IU in the second half against Louisville. Here, week 3 falls just short. 21-14 Cardinal win in Indianapolis as we welcome you to another edition of Under the Hood with IU Football, presented by your Central Indiana Ford dealers, proud sponsor of IU Football. Reminder to visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. Great to be back here with you, fellow Hoosiers. Rhett Lewis, as we look back on week 3, get you set for week 4 with Akron coming to town. Big opportunity for IU to get back to the Rock in Bloomington. Chance to get back to 500 before re-entering Big Ten play at the end of the month. But as we look back on the Louisville game, obviously tale of two halves. Spot the Cardinals 21 points in the first half, but boy, come out with a complete 180 in the second half. Started with special teams. Onside kick got things rolling. Offense took advantage. Put up a couple of scoring drives. Taven Jackson was fantastic in the pass game, and the defense absolutely turned it around there, shutting out Louisville in the second half, limiting the Cardinals to just 120 total yards in the final 2 quarters. A lot of that, though, on that final drive. And we'll get into all of it here with co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach Chad Wilt, our esteemed guest here this week. Coach, I know the result did not get what we had wanted in this one, but certainly appreciate you giving us some time to look back on this matchup. How are you?
Great, Brett. Good to see you, brother.
No question. All right. Let's get into this thing here a little bit. And, talking about that first half, as you guys get into that locker room, try to put that thing to bed and turn things around in the second half. I know those explosive plays are tough to deal with from a coordinator level, from a linebackers coach level. What are some of the coaching points on some of those plays that went for the big gains and the touchdowns in the first half?
It's eye discipline, Brett. Every man has to do their job, and we got exposed with some dirty, bad eyes. And we were able to clean those things up. And guys, it goes back to do your job. Each guy, right? What's your job? What's your responsibility? And nobody's got to be Superman. Just be a man and do your job and be accountable for your responsibility. And if we can trust each other to do that, we can play pretty good defense. I think we've shown that to be the case so far this season. When we're doing things the right way, every man, again, responsible for your job. Nobody has to do anything more than that. Then we can play pretty effective and efficient defense. When guys aren't locked in and assignment, right? That's people talk about the old triple option, right? Assignment football, right?
Sure.
That's just football. That ain't option football, right? That's just football, right? Assignment, discipline, executing, and that's what when we were able to get guys to do that, we played pretty well. And when we weren't doing that well together, we didn't like the results as much.
Yeah, and look, I think a lot of times when folks see a game like this that flips on its head in the second half and kind of completely goes the other direction, like, well, the halftime adjustments, right? And look, you're obviously trying to make adjustments each and every drive after every possession, and you're trying to get things corrected. And it's not necessarily like you came out and had a whole new game plan in the second half, right? It's a refocusing. Was that part of the message in the locker room at halftime?
100% was 100%. A lot of the message was going back to, okay, guys, we know the calls, we know, and Coach Braun does a good job. He's, a good coach and has, been a great offensive mind for a long time. And, he's going to give you things in a game that aren't exactly right, as any good coach does, right? It's not what he showed last week. And, but guys got to be able to be, again, back to discipline, knowing their job and doing their job that get you through those opening script type plays where, okay, he's going to go poke and prod and, see what he can test and find something. And you fight through those things. And again, you mentioned it, right? You're making those corrections on the sideline between series. Right. I come home and my wife asked me, like, what about this on offense? What about? I'm like, I didn't see that one. I don't know what that one was.
I didn't see any of it.
I don't know. I don't know, I don't know what anybody of that. So my back was to the field was happening. So I was like, better than I do.
Sure.
So we're always making those adjustments. It's not just coming in at halftime. But, okay, let's teach. Let's correct. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Right? You're coaching all the way through the game. We talk here about coach till kickoff, and that we're always going to be preparing and finding ways to do things for our guys, but you're coaching all the way through kickoff and through the end of the game. And, so it wasn't a massive halftime adjustments or whatever. No, let's tweak it. Let's make it a little, yes, there were some adjustments made.
Sure.
I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but it's more like, okay, this is what they're giving us. This is how we need to make sure we're fitting things up. And hey, guys, go do your job better.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, it does come down, to execution. And I think on a lot of these plays, and you mentioned the eye discipline, and I can imagine how difficult it is against a team like Louisville with the way that they run some of those mesh points with the run game, and they're, motioning here and bringing the tight end back across a couple of different times. I mean, like I get it that is tough. And so that can kind of hinder your aggressiveness, I feel like, at a lot of in times at certain positions. I'm kind of curious, though, because, watching Andre Carter in this game, and I know you're coaching the linebackers, but you're coordinating the front seven quite a bit. He can be so aggressive into the backfield. He's got such great get off and explosion. Yeah. Are there times where you cut him loose to the mesh point and then you say, hey, we'll account for it somewhere else?
Absolutely. And it's built in within the structure of the defense. The linebackers know when he is going to do that, when he is not going to do that. But you mentioned, all that other stuff. It's just eye candy. We call it eye candy, right? Yeah. It looks sweet. It can, right? But in reality, right, it can create some diabetes and some bad things for you, right?
Yeah.
Too much of it, right? So you got to be able to get your eye discipline and have your eyes right. And, your checks, your adjustments, these shifts, these motions. But at the end of the day, it's what did my key, I talk our pre-snap progression with our linebackers, the last two things are, okay, right, making sure my eyes are right and getting in the stance and playing football, right? It's got a whole acronym for it, but the last parts are, right, eyes and stance. It still goes back to, right, get your eyes right, get in a good stance, right, and trust your keys, right, because your keys take you where you need them to go. And that's any position. That's not just linebackers. That's any position. That's a defensive end, Andre Carter, or, deep third corner, right? Sure. Just, get in a good stance, right, get your eyes right, let's go play. And then, again, trust what you see.
Now, on the flip side, there were a number of opportunities where you had guys, especially, some of the linebackers, in your room, and Ace on the second level, working through that eye candy to make big plays. Like, I think actually even early in the game in the first half, they were setting up one of those tunnel screens out to the left side, and it gets blown up on one side of the play. I think with a DB who is tight, and then Ace kind of works back, and is able to make up about a 5-yard advantage that Jake Plummer had on him getting to or Jack Plummer had getting on to the sideline. That's fantastic recognition there.
We were in a man coverage call, and again, guys had their eyes on their man, and their man took him to the block and took him to the play. And Ace had the back man to man, right? And he's sitting there, right? He doesn't let his eyes drift, right? And then as soon as the quarterback breaks contain on it, then he was able to go, just trigger and be a football player. And I think that's one of the things right now is with Ace is he really is doing a great job of getting his eyes in the right spot. And people, I've been talking with NFL scouts about him and all that. Why is he playing so fast? Because he's playing at a very fast level. He's got good eye discipline right now, and he knows his fits. He knows his keys, and he trusts what he sees, and he just doing his job really fast. And he's playing at a high level right now because of it. So funny how that works out that way, right? Put your eyes in the right spot, and you know your keys, you know your reactions, and man, when the ball goes where we tell the guys all the time, right? The play doesn't care who makes the play; just make the play when it's your turn to make the play, right? Every defensive call isn't designed for this defensive end or that linebacker or this corner, right, whatever, to make the play. It's just when the ball goes where it's supposed to go and you're where you're supposed to be, just make the play when it's your turn to make the play. And but Aaron is doing a great job of that. When it's his turn to make the plays, he's making the plays he's supposed to make.
We'll get to a couple more of those plays here in just a second, but I just kind of want to dig in on Ace there for a second, because I remember sitting in your office summertime before last season when you and I first got a chance to meet, and you were telling me about Ace, and felt like he probably could have played a little bit better in 21, and you're like, you know what? After seeing him this spring, Ace is going to help us win a lot of football games this year. And I was like, Ace is going to help us play winning football this year on the defensive side of the ball. And I was like, all right, let's see it. And bam, sure enough, we saw it. The toughness, you saw it at the end of the season when he was dealing with the injury. And now this year, it certainly feels like he is really starting to max out, what you think he could be. How would you kind of describe his evolution?
One, his confidence is grown a lot. And where does confidence come from, right? You've got to generate that evidence for yourself, right? Confidence comes from demonstrated performance. Me saying that to you, over a year ago was based on him having a good spring ball and having a good preseason camp. And so he had his personal confidence growing. Well, where does that come from? And just your process is right, your preparation and your process. I tell the guys all the time, my job is to teach and demand. Their job is to prepare and perform. I think right now his process is really good. My gut is I'm going to go downstairs and put some notes on the board in the meeting room here this afternoon for the game plan. Aaron Casey and Jacob Magnum-Farrar are going to be sitting down in the meeting room watching film. It's part of his process. He's preparing well. And then you mentioned it as well, right? Ace is a naturally and innately tough young man. He really is. He is a tough young man. That Michigan State game showed a lot about who he is and his fight and his grit and also his care for this team. I got a picture on the back here. Sitting right here, right? You can see it, but of Cam Jones carrying Aaron Casey to the locker room after that game.
Golly.
Right? Ace had given everything he had. Aaron given everything he had, and Cam Jones himself, injured.
That's incredible.
But truly, spent and exhausted on the playing field. It's special. But that goes back to both of those young men. That their bond, their connection. You talk about football, like playing for the man to your left and your right, and that's part of Ace's DNA as well. The last part of that is Aaron is an extremely instinctual player too, right? His process is right, and but then sometimes it's there is a point like all those things of the eye candy, the eye discipline, right? The getting in the stance and key in a play. Sometimes it's good linebackers just they know where the ball's going and they go where the ball's going to go.
Perhaps part of that perhaps no better described than on that reverse that he absolutely blew up. So let me ask you this, because he either saw that thing so quickly or was there a pressure call on that?
He was in a pressure. He was in a,
okay. I was going to say, it'd be incredible.
Right. He was in a blitz on it. But still as it happens to hit the guy with the ball. And as you're hitting him, to feel the ball being tossed and be able to transition off to the reverse player. I mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah. Again, instinctual, just instinctual feel for the game and how it's playing out. And he's playing at a high level right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I want to get to his tag team partner who you mentioned there on the second level, and Jacob Mangum-Farrar, who again, feels like he's really finding a home there right next to Ace. I go back even to the first game where he had that tomahawk coming on the blitz on Kyle McCord. It feels like he's really has a nice skill set to bring pressure from the second level as a blitzer. What goes into that?
Again, I wish I could take more credit. Sometimes sometimes it's just instincts and feel. Maybe it's recruiting. But he does, and I think that's one of the things as guys in the next level are asking questions about him. I think one of the things they value in Jacob is he can play in the NFL. It's so many simulated packages. He can play in different spots and has a skill set to be able to play at the line of scrimmage as an edge blitzer, to be able to blitz from the second level. Obviously, he's got length and coverage, and I think they just see a lot of physical traits and tools in him that are intriguing and attractive.
Sure.
And he's another young man. Again, I think just as he's getting into the system and really starting to play, I think, his confidence is growing of, like we talked about with Ace, okay, where are my eyes, where are my keys, where are my fits, and then go play fast, go play big, go play aggressive, and seeing some growth and development in that regard for him as well.
And, speaking of the pressure and the pressure, can come in all shapes and sizes, right? From a defense, I think of a couple of them because, Ace got credit with 2 sacks. One of them, I think, was the intentional grounding. And then another was a hustle play, right?
There's the one you mentioned earlier that ended up being the sack. Yeah.
Exactly. On that, in the first half. But, I think about how, pressure is much more than just actually getting the quarterback to the ground. And I think a lot of times that gets overlooked. A couple of plays that stood out to me in the second half, 3rd and 9, Linnell Carr provides some pressure off the right side, felt like just enough to get to Plummer where he was thinking about it, right? And he was 100%. Feeling it a little bit, errant throw. And then I go back, I think it was play 42, a 3rd and 4. Ace comes on an A-gap pressure, and he almost completes an entire circle coming back to chase Plummer off to the right side, which I think forces the interception down deep. Yeah. And so 100%. How the pressure can also, create an extra step for a quarterback to think, just something that goes into his process that can limit what he does down the field.
100%. And that's one of the things we talked about with Plummer. We wanted to really affect and impact him in the pocket. And you're 100% right. I having a history and background as defensive line coach, I always talk to the guys about the math of pass rush. When you really look at it, say a team throws the ball 40 times a game, okay, like Louisville might. On average, sometimes we rush 3, sometimes we rush 4, sometimes we rush 5. But say on average, you're rushing 4 guys, every play. Well, 40 pass attempts, 4 rushers, that's 160 individual pass rush attempts in a game when you really think about it. If you walk out of a game, 40 passes, and you have 5 sacks, you're like, man, that's a great game. Like, we really affected the quarterback. Your success ratio really isn't that great. You're still talking, right? 155 out of 160 individual pass rushes were not wins.
Yeah.
Right. So like you sit here and say, collectively, like that's really not a great success ratio. So what are the other things that you're doing to affect and impact the quarterback in the pocket? Right. And that's, as you mentioned, right, not being able to step fully into a throw by interior push, right, by him like saying, OK, I can't move out of the pocket, by how you contain him on the edges. And that you have this collapsing wall around him, right? This, I kind of think about the old Star Wars movie where they're stuck in that trash pit, right? And the walls are just closing in on them in that trash pit. And you kind of want the pocket to feel the same way on the quarterback, that the walls are just closing in. I can't step into it, right? I can't move to my edges. So those things affect the quarterback. I always talk to D-line about it. Even, okay, ball's thrown, right? And you're close to the quarterback, just touch him. Just touch him and run and get away from him, right? Like,
make him feel you.
Make him feel you. Like, it's not a physical hit, but just, man, these guys are always here. They're always there, right? And those things add up in the 3rd, the 4th quarter. And then again, you want the sack, right? But how else can you impact the pocket? Tip balls, mirror, man. Sure. Like, there's just no windows to throw into, right? And guys matching hands, and so just all those different things add up into the quarterback psyche of comfortability to deliver, right, a precise pass. So that's our job too. You wish you could, again, 40 throws a game, you wish you had 40 sacks. It's not going to be the reality of it. So what else can I do to impact the pocket on the quarterback?
Yeah, and look, on that play that I was talking about there, where Ace forces some pressure and Plummer throws it deep and it gets picked off. I think Noah Pierre down there. I mean, Noah was at the line of scrimmage making plays. He was all over the field in this game. I feel like he's in that Husky kind of hybrid safety linebacker spot. Yep. So I feel like he could fit in with your room a little bit. It seems like he plays the game with a linebacker mindset, Coach. I think we saw it this week.
Yeah, I love Noah Pierre. One, tremendous young man. 2, undersized, odds against him. Multiple times I've sent him a text message. Hey, doctor just showed me a picture of X-ray he had taken. He's like, first time I ever sent it to him, he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. And then I sent him a picture of just an X-ray, body with a dog, like a pit bull, like inside somebody's chest cavity.
Yeah.
You got that dog in you, man.
Yeah, and, that's great.
The next time I sent him a, same kind of prompt, and he's like, Coach, got that dog in me, man. Let me see it. So what he does, we talk about playing with a series of efforts, right? From pre-snap process to how you finish every play. And Noah's young man plays with continual heart and hustle, series of efforts. Two plays that he made were really excellent downfield plays. The one in a Tampa 2, where Jacob is the middle run through and Noah comes over top playing a deep half. Noah gets right. You think about it, like he was playing to your point, right? Like just all his versatility. He's playing a deep half safety to blitzing. Screenplay we alluded to earlier, right? Noah was the edge blitzer. Right in that play, so just a young man you can do a variety of things with. Can sit out there and play, man free. Can play a deep half. Can play, he's just, but he's going to do it all, like I said, with that series of efforts of just, pre-snap process to echo of the whistle. He got that dog in him.
Yeah, he does. I think this is the most extensive snap count he played in this game, and didn't seem to affect him one bit. He was. From play 1 to whatever it was, play 60, he was rolling. In this game.
You look at Louisville coming into the game; they'd been predominantly 11 personnel, one back, one tight end, and so we were going to be in our nickel package. But when they went to 12 personnel, we were going to get into a true more 4-3, replacing another linebacker, Anthony Jones, for Noah at the Husky nickel position. Until the last drive, Louisville didn't play one snap of 12 personnel. Not one snap of 12, right? So that's why his play count was higher, because they didn't want to get into the 12 personnel game. So all of a sudden he's sitting there playing the whole game. It's correct. It didn't affect him one bit.
That was awesome to see.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome to see a big bounce back this week at the Rock. I know you're going to write those notes down on the board. I want to get you off so you can go do that. But what's going to be top of mind here for you guys this week as you assess? I know you're still early in the week in terms of getting the Akron focus rolling, but what's that look like to you?
They're a well-balanced team. They've got talent at the skill positions, similar to Louisville. Got a talented group of wide receivers and running backs. They got a couple of good running backs. Quarterback is a dangerous player with his arm and his legs. As always, the game of football is still one up front. So we got they're a heavier passing team than running team, but when they run the ball, we got to be great at mashing the run and winning, controlling gaps, but then getting off of blocks up front. And again, the linebackers in the run fits, and DBs when we need them. Based on calls, based on personnel groupings. You got to still be clean and crisp and stopping the run, but then when they do drop back, man, we got to create pressure. We got to be able to create pressure, and we got to be able to win with 3-man rushes, win with 4-man rushes, win with 5-man rushes, or more. That's and then as we always believe, right, the takeaways tackling DNA. Oh yeah, right? The effort part of our DNA, right? And that's going to be something we will always continue to preach and harp on is the takeaway part, and goes back to, as we talked about, right, the pressure on the quarterback, force some errant throws, obviously hits on him in the pocket, and then when the ball is in, running back or receiver's hands, second, third man in, strip attempts, and still we haven't forced to recover the fumble yet. We need to get one on the ground this week.
And lastly, Coach, I've kind of really enjoyed doing this with Coach Guerreri, with Coach Bell, and Coach Allen in episodes prior to this one. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you these last a year and a half calendar time. And I know folks at home would love to kind of get a chance to understand a little bit more about you too. And so talk about the how and the why a lot. And so lastly, I'd love to hear from you on what that means to you in terms of being a football coach.
Sure. Red, I really appreciate again, the friendship and relationship we've been able to develop too. I think you and I see the world a lot the same way and value a lot of the same things. And, it's been appreciated building friendship with you. I've got right here on my desk, I've got Post-it notes all over the place, different things, different, I've kind of alluded to them before. I realized some of them are just coaching philosophy. One up here says positive passion is contagious, so is negative energy. Which one am I giving off, right? Just feed positivity to these young men. You want them to grow and build confidence. Feed them the positive stuff. Now, the next one is, right, you never have to return to the fundamentals if you never abandon them. So there's still a point of, right, again, my job is teach and demand. but I believe you can do that from place of positivity and encouragement of these young men.
Sure.
You don't always have to berate and belittle. You don't have to, you can be demanding without being demeaning. And so I want that, to be, again, my job, teach and demand. There's this, right, prepare and perform. The other one up here, the highest human act is to inspire. So like, again, positivity, passionately teaching, right, demanding, but inspiring, right? I think that's one of the reasons Ace and I have connected. Of just, I've seen his confidence grow. I've tried to inspire and instill confidence in him on what he does. But right here, why I coach. My dad was a college coach. Another one of the pictures up here is, back behind me. If you kind of that one, get my finger right, that one right there.
Yep, nice work, Weatherman.
Yeah, that's me playing for my dad in college and going back to what my dad did and how he impacted young men, and it inspired me that. To why I coach, to develop young men to become the best version of themselves, to push them and help them achieve their goals and vision for their life, or possibly challenge and reshape their vision for their life so they make the world better and impact others, beginning with their family. And I do this in football because I'm also a competitor, love that aspect of the game, while also using the unique lessons from this game to connect to the first part of why I coach. Again, to help develop young men become the best version of themselves. So that's it.
Beautiful.
And again, I saw it modeled from my dad. Someday they're going to put all of us 6 feet under this dirt. It's coming. It's happening. It's inevitable. And I want people to say 2 things at my funeral. 1, I'm really sad he's gone. 2, I'm really glad he was here. That's it. That's all. Man, I'm sad he's gone, but man, I'm glad he was here and he's part of my life and he did something for me and helped develop me. And help. My parents talked all the time about leave it better than you found it. Whether that was a hotel room that you were staying in, whether that was a conversation with a cashier at the grocery store, or lifelong relationships. Did you leave them better than you found them? And that's ultimately my goal: is whatever I touch, whatever I do, leave it better than I found them.
Well, you're doing that right now with some of these young men. You're seeing it with Cam Jones, who makes, the Kansas City Chiefs defending Super Bowl champion roster as an undrafted free agent. We're going to be talking about Aaron Casey at some point in that light, and perhaps JMF as well. And so, Coach, I know these players are lucky to have you, and Indiana is lucky to have you a part of this program. And we hope you're here for a long time. And appreciate your time today. This is a lot of fun.
I appreciate it, man. Look forward to seeing you soon. See you this weekend.
No doubt. All right. That's going to do it for episode 4 of Under the Hood with IU Football. Thanks to Coach Chad Wilt. This episode, of course, presented by your local Central Indiana Ford dealers. Visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. And reminder for you, coming up later this week, Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern time, we'll have another special piece of content for you. More details on that to come. In the meantime, go Hoosiers, everybody.